Let's go, boy.
Hello there, I'm Eurogamer's Ian Higton, and this is my power and programming tutorial for Fallout 4. In this video I'll be talking about powering your bases and using computers to enhance certain aspects of them. This will be the most complex of the Fallout 4 video tutorials I've produced, so I urge you to go watch my other tutorials, Base Building for Beginners and Advanced Base Building Techniques, before you watch this one. If you haven't seen them yet, you'll find links to them both in the video description below. Okay, let's start simple. In Fallout 4, the more power you have, the more things you can power. Power is produced by generators, and the 4 generators available to you are found in the Power Generators section of your workbench menu. 3 of the generators can be built by anyone, but to build the largest one that produces the most power, you'll need the Science perk. If you don't have that, your ability to build big will be slightly diminished. Each generator produces a limited amount of power, but you can chain multiple generators together using wire to create circuits capable of outputting more power than one generator would on its own. This is really easy to do, just group some generators together, highlight one of them, and the option to attach wire will become available at the bottom of the screen. Press the corresponding button and you'll notice a sparking wire will appear. Now these wires won't stretch forever, they have a limited length, but any object that uses power within its range will be highlighted with a white aura. If you select one of those and press Y again, the 2 objects will be automatically connected. Oh, and don't worry about having to create actual circuits. In Fallout 4, electricity travels both ways along a wire, so as long as things are connected to a wire, they'll receive and transfer power. While most electrical items will need to be connected directly to a power source via a wire, some smaller items like lights can be powered wirelessly, as long as they're within a certain range of either a connector pylon or a switch. To demonstrate how connectors and switches transfer power wirelessly, I've constructed this simple test corridor. There are 6 segments to the corridor, and each segment has a light bulb hanging from the middle of the ceiling. To start this experiment, I'll be using a large generator that produces 10 units of power. As you can see, so far none of the lights are active, but if I place a power pylon next to the corridor and then wire it to the generator, you'll notice that 2 segments of the corridor light up. I can repeat this process with many different types of connectors and switches, but each one yields the same results. Only 2 segments of the corridor are powered. The only exception to this rule is the wall-mounted switch. This only has an area of effect equal to 1 segment of corridor, so any lights you want to power with one of these will need to be situated very close to it indeed. But what about changing the generator? Does that make a difference? Here's the corridor powered by a chain of generators producing 50 units of energy, and this is it with a small generator that only produces 3 units of energy. As you can see, there's still no change. That means the only way to light more segments of the corridor is to add extra connectors along its length and wire them all together. When I'm wiring the interior of my bases, I tend to use the ceiling mounted connector, but there are also floor and wall mounted versions to choose from if you're irresponsible enough to build a base with trip hazards. It's also worth noting that there seems to be no limit to the amount of light bulbs that can be powered by connectors in close proximity. I just spammed as many as I could onto this section of the corridor, and every single one of them lit up perfectly. Okay, so now we know how to create circuits and power lights, but what other objects can be powered up in Fallout 4? Cosmetic items like the jukebox and the 3 TVs work exactly like the lights. No wires needed, just some kind of switch or connector nearby. They can be found in the Furniture Miscellaneous and Decorations Miscellaneous menus. In the defence portion of the workbench menu, the laser turret, shotgun turret, spotlight, heavy laser turret and the missile turret all need a direct power source to function. That means they need to have a wire connected to them. Behind those you can see the 2 machine gun turrets. They need no power whatsoever, so can be placed anywhere you like. You'll also find traps in the defence menu, but I'll go into a bit more detail on those 3 later on, as they're a bit more complicated to use. Finally, in the power miscellaneous menu, we have a recruitment beacon, a terminal, the light box and a powered speaker. Again, each one of these needs direct power to work. The recruitment beacon is only necessary if you're planning on growing your settlement and doesn't really need to be tampered with. The others I'll be covering in further detail later on in the video. Programming items using terminals in Fallout 4 is actually rather simple, as the options they give you are rather limited. By connecting a terminal to any circuit, you'll be able to tinker with any item in the circuit that is programmable. For instance, if I place a terminal right here before all of the powered items in this circuit, you can see that I have access to turret controls, spotlight controls, lightbox controls and speaker controls. The turret controls merely allow you to deactivate or activate your defences, which is pretty pointless as most people will want their defences on at all times. Programming the spotlight turret will tell it to either target hostiles with its lamp or target your character, which is kind of cool if you fancy feeling like you're on Broadway. You can also use the terminal to program some switches, your light boxes and your powered speakers, so let's go into more detail on those now. To be honest with you, powered speakers are super pointless, unless you really feel like wasting all of your time and resources building a giant piano. Someone's already done that, by the way, so just check out the video link in the description below to see what it looks like and save yourself a load of hassle. Each speaker plays a constant annoying tone when connected to the power source, but there are plenty of ways to manipulate it. For instance, if you place a pressure plate between the power source and the speaker, you'll be able to switch the speaker on and off by walking over the plate. Or you could connect it to an interval switch like this one that switches on and off repeatedly. The length of time between the intervals can be changed via a terminal, so you can set both the on time and the off time. Here's how it sounds with a 1 second on, 1 second off interval. Potentially a good alarm system if coupled with a pressure plate or a laser tripwire. By connecting a terminal to a speaker, you can change the pitch of its tone, which is useful if you were planning on making a giant piano. The good news is the speaker's pitch will not change back to default if you disconnect it from the terminal, so if you wanted to change multiple speaker tones, you'd only need one terminal to do so. Just connect it to one speaker, change the pitch, disconnect it and connect it to the next speaker you want to alter, and so on and so on. Okay, so you've seen the giant Vault Boy made out of light boxes that shoots flames in that Fallout trailer a million times, and you want to make your own one, right? Well, so did I, so I decided to make this fire-breathing Mario. Cool, eh? Well, unfortunately, to get this to work I needed a lot of power, and I mean a lot. Each lightbox takes up 1 unit of power, so here's all the generators I had to use to make sure each lightbox was powered. Now, even if you do have enough materials to build all those generators, you'll need more copper than you could ever possibly scavenge if you wanted to make all those lightboxes and wire them together. To make this, I had to use mods on the PC to give myself unlimited building materials, so if you're playing on a console, you can kiss goodbye to the idea of ever making anything this big. Sorry. As I mentioned before, each lightbox needs 1 unit of power to function. That means to get this 4x4 block of lights to work, I'll need enough generators to produce 16 units of power. That's easily done by chaining 2 large jennies together though. Because each light box needs its own power, you'll also need to wire them all together. Power won't transfer between them automatically, so you'll need to get behind them and chain them together with wires manually. A fiddly process to say the least. Once a light box is powered, you can cycle through various colours available by selecting it while you're not in the workbench menu. If you want to have a black light box, just disconnect it from any power sources. Now, if you connect a terminal to a light box, you get a couple of options. Firstly, you can set the colour of all the connected light boxes along with their brightness, like so. Or you can randomise the colour, like this. Any light box in the circuit connected to the terminal will be affected, so bear that in mind when wiring them all together. Want to create a flashing sign? Simply place an interval switch between the power source and the lights, set the on-off time using a terminal, and bingo, you've got all the ingredients to make some lovely Christmas decorations. Traps are great for defending your settlements, but they can also be a bit fiddly to use. The most important thing to remember is that they will activate the instant they are connected to a power source, like so. Ouch! That means you're going to need to build some kind of trigger. My preference is to use the laser tripwires, but you'll need fusion cells to get these working, so make sure you don't waste them all on your enemies. What you need to do is place a tripwire and connect that to a generator. Then you can connect the tripwire to the trap of your choice. Notice the light on top of the tripwire is red and the trap is currently inactive. Now all you need to do is break the laser like so, and the trap will trigger. As you can see, the light on top of the tripwire is now green, so this shows that breaking the laser allows the tripwire to transfer power. To reset your trap, first reactivate the tripwire so the laser appears and the green light switches to a red one, and then access your workbench menu, highlight the spent trap and select the repair option. This will reset your trap, but it will also cost you a few components to do so. Beware though, friendly NPCs can also trigger tripwires, so make sure you hook a terminal up to it first before setting it active. In the terminal, select Optical Sensor Control, then set the trigger target to hostiles only. That way any NPC that wanders into the laser won't ruin all your fun. And finally, I've quickly put everything we've learnt together into one really untidy and rushed base build, just to demonstrate what kind of things you can achieve with all these different components working together. Okay, here it is. Raiders beware. Enter my room of death without permission, and you'll soon know about it. So there you go. Hopefully this tutorial has given you a better understanding of the power and programming aspects in Fallout 4. If you found it helpful, please do give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to Eurogamer for more Fallout 4. Goodbye and good building. This is base building for beginners. Your first attempt at base building in Fallout 4 can be rather intimidating thanks to the amount of craftable items you can choose from in Fallout 4's workshop menus, and the countless crafting components you find strewn around Boston.